Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today for the Creative Escape PaperCrafting August Fully Loaded Kit. I will share on how to create 10 beautiful cards with this kit and hopefully inspire you to share my ideas on how to use the products in this kit. So let's get started. I've started with a 6x6 card base for my stash. I'm adding the floral print as my first mat and taking a strip of the green and adding it to the lower section of the card. I'm attaching a strip of the pink ribbon and adding it above the green. Just trimming off the edges of the ribbon. Next, I'll take this cut apart and back it with the remaining green sheet for the center sentiment, and I'll pop this up on foam and just add it to the center of my card. I've stamped, colored, and embossed the bird, flowers, and leaves, and I want to create a nest with the yellow and white twine. I'm just adding double-sided tape since I didn't have any pop dots. And next I'll be adding the bird over the nest. And I've popped that up on pop dots as well. Next I'll be adding the leaves along the bottom of the little nest. Then I'll decorate the top of the cut apart with an ephemera leaf accent. The lower right, I'll add a floral piece and leaf. Love pop dots. And this little accent leaf, and this will complete card number 1. For card number 2, let's begin with a 6x6 card base and the shiny gold and white sheet as my mat. This ephemera piece I've backed with white cardstock and popped up. I'm adding it towards the bottom of the card. This strip is the piece that you tear off the top of a 6x6 sheet. I'm adding this here for a little extra color, plus I wanted to cover up the hole on the left side. The next 2 tags I've backed with white cardstock. This piece I've added pink ribbon and yellow twine to the top, popped it up on foam and centering it right above the hello. The next tag I'm adding it to the right, also on pop dots, at a slight angle, topping it with one of the floral ephemera pieces to balance out the design. The thanks piece I believe is a cutting board, but I'll disguise it with another floral piece. The remainder strip I didn't want to waste, so I'm adding it to the left side of the small tag. Just tucking it in behind. Adding a little ATG and securing it. I've made a small pink bow, and I'm using my double-sided tape to attach to the top of the center tag. I've trimmed the ribbon. Oops, let's go back a little bit. I've added the double-sided tape to the back of the bow as my pop dot. Just adjusting my bow. And next I'll just trim the ribbon so it doesn't extend past my card. And this completes card number 2. Let's begin with card number 3 with a 6x6 card base and a light blue mat. This card is kitchen themed, so I've cut the kitchen paper with one of my dies and a blue frame with the remainder blue cardstock. I've added foam tape to the back to pop it. If I wanted it to look like a tablecloth, which I added to the bottom inside of the frame. The kitchen ephemera pieces are perfect for this kitchen theme. A stacked bowl piece, a glass dome piece, and a teapot that I've removed the floral piece for now. I'll use it later in a separate section of the card. Cutting board sentiment will be perfect, but I'm doing a little trimming to alter the size, just a little. I'm adding it to the top center, and I will adorn it with a floral piece. For a little added bling, I'm using the 6mm gold gems on the teapot jar and the 4 corners of the sentiment, along with the floral piece that I removed from the teapot. So here we have the finished card number 3. For card number 4, I'm taking the craft cardstock, adding a little bit of tape to the back, and then taping it flat down on a piece of cardboard. I'm mixing the green crayon that was in my kit, yours may vary in color, and the iridescent glaze with my palette knife, mixing it on my glass mat. And then I'm spreading it all over the stencil evenly. Then removing the tape and peeling the back stencil to reveal the pattern. I've set this aside to let it dry, and then I'll be trimming it to fit my base card, which will be a 6x6. Next, I'm cutting the piece into 6 equal squares. And I'll place the pieces evenly spaced on my 6x6 white card base, adding foam tape and making sure my pattern is correct. I almost mixed a couple of the squares. And here you can see I'm evenly spacing them. Now here I have the sentiment that matches the color of the glaze perfectly. I've backed it with white cardstock, rounded the corners, and adding a low profile foam strip and placing it on the lower 4 squares on the left side. I'm adding a butterfly ephemera piece with similar colors. And this completes card number 4. For card number 5, I'm tracing the thank you sentiment on the center of my pink mat and using the Lawn Fawn ink pad to stamp the 3 floral stamps and leaves randomly on the cardstock to create my own design. Tracing the sentiment just gives me an idea of what the design will look like once I add the sentiment to the center of my card. The size of the mat will fit a 6 by 5.5 card base. I have the extra piece of pink cardstock will be perfect for stamping some of the florals and fussy cutting them out later. I'm removing the top of the sentiment piece and erasing my pencil marks now, and I'll attach my mat to the 5.5 by 6 inch card base and my sentiment that I've popped up on foam squares. Next, I'm fussy cutting the extra florals and matching up the florals and adding them to my card to add extra dimension. Now for a little bling, I'm adding the 3mm gems to balance out the design and adding a floral piece to the top of this sentiment. This ink pad complements this cardstock beautifully, and this completes card number 5. For card number 6, I'm using the leftover craft cardstock for my mat and a scrap that measures 4 1/8 by 4 1/4, and I'm adding a white piece that I stamped "You're the Best" several times with gold ink from my stash. I did draw some lines to keep the letters straight, so I'll just erase those. I've backed that piece with craft and a shadow piece for the lemon. Next, I'll add adhesive to the back of the stamped image and place it about 1 inch from the left side. Next, I'll place the thank you piece under the 2 stamped sentiments that I popped up. I'll attach the lemon to the shadow piece and pop that up as well, and add it to the right side of the thank you. For the final touch, I have added a row of 3mm gold gems and a small bow using the gold and white twine. This completes card number 6. For card number 7, I'll be adding the gold with white polka dots as my mat to a 6 by 5.5 inch card base. I'm taking this oval ephemera piece and using a gold marker to run around the edge, since I'll be using the back side of this piece. I'll continue to do the same process around the clock. And the sentiment that I backed with white cardstock. Next, I'll use my circle punch and cut the happy birthday and run the marker around this piece as well. All my embellishments will match nicely with the gold and white mat. And the oval piece has foam tape, and I'll center this piece on my card, add the clock to the center piece, so cute with the little bird, and the happy birthday on the lower right that I've added foam tape to the back. And the Just For You sentiment on the upper left hand corner. And that completes card number 7. Let's continue on to card number 8. I'm using the navy cardstock on a 6 by 5.5 inch white card base with the bird and floral designer paper over that. This cut apart will be the focal piece, and I'm backing it with this blueprint that I've added foam tape to. I'm cutting part of the sentiment that reads "Happy Birthday," and I'll use the remainder on another project. I'm adding my focal piece to the center of my card. And I'm adding the happy birthday to the right of the main image and adhering a small blue bow. This completes card number 8. So on to card number 9. I'm adding a grassy border to the bottom of the golden navy mat, a navy strip to the left side of the cut apart with about 1/4 inch showing. I'm also adhering a navy strip to the left side of the card, so when it's put together the mat measures 5 3/4 square. My navy piece was short, so I made sure to line it up at the top first. Then I can add the entire piece to my card base. Lots of leftover scraps and putting them together to complete another card. I can now tuck the cut apart slightly behind the grass piece. I've stamped, colored, and die cut this little bird. Such a little cutie. To match the paper. And I've added a little gem on its wing. And I've also, for the final touch, are 3 gold gems, which I moved over to the navy strip. And this completes card number 9. So on to card number 10. The card base measures 6 by 6, and I'm using 2 striped scraps for each side of the charcoal polka dot paper. This will leave about 1/8 inch border around the base card. Just trimming off the excess and adding double-sided tape to the mat and adding it to my white card base. I'm adding this cut apart to the black and white scrap, which will give it a similar look to the polka dot mat. No foam squares required here. This is going flat onto the card. I've taken a navy scrap and cut fishtails on each end and adding the Thinking of You ephemera piece on top. I'm placing it flat right under the word feel, since I just want the floral border to be visible. I've stamped, colored, and die cut the rose image and added foam tape, yes, foam tape for added dimension, and tied a bow with the black and white twine. This completes card number 10. Thank you all so much for sticking with me to the end. This was my first 10 card, 1 kit video. I hope you learned a few techniques and that I've given you inspiration, design ideas, and how to use this August fully loaded kit by Creative Escape PaperCrafting. I'll link the store in the description box for this amazing card kit. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care.